Welcome to Module 1, Lesson 17, From Rates to Ratios. After today's lesson, I'd like you to be able to find ratios associated with a given rate, including a ratio where the second term is 1 and a ratio where both terms are whole numbers. I'd also like you to be able to recognize that all ratios associated to a given rate are equivalent because they have the same value. So since we've talked about ratios where they have the same values, that they're equivalent, we're now extending that to rates. All right, so to start us off, we're going to kind of work a little bit of review, and we're going to turn each of our ratios into a rate. So we have the ratio here of miles to hours is 434, miles to 7 hours. And I want to write that as a rate. So to write that as a rate, I turn it into 434 miles per 7 hours. So it's kind of like when I turned my ratio into the value of the ratio. I turned it into a fraction. The value of the ratio and the rate are the same thing. So I can also simplify this and find that this is also 62 miles per 1 hour, which I can also write as 62 miles per hour. Because when I see down here that there's no number and just the word, it indicates that it's singular, 1 hour. So down here, I want the ratio of the number of laps to minutes, and that's 5 to 4. So I want to take that ratio and turn it into a rate. As a rate, it is 5 laps per 4 minutes, which is 1 and 25 hundredths laps per minute. But now I want to show you something. So this 1 and 25 hundredths, if I write it as a mixed number, it's 1 and 25 hundredths. And if I simplify it by dividing both by 4, I get 1 and 1/4. And if I turn that into a mixed number, from a mixed number into an improper fraction, I get 5/4. So I can actually replace this 1 and 25 hundredths with 5/4 and say that the rate is 5/4 laps per minute. So we can write it as a decimal or we can write it as a fraction. Notice this fraction looks very similar to something we see over here, our value. So I can write my value as my rate. Okay, so now we're going to take that and we're going to use that a little bit further ahead here. All right, so I'm going to use part B. I'm going to use that rate and I'm going to show it in different forms. I'm going to show it as a ratio, a unit rate, and a rate. So as a rate, we said it was 5/4 laps per minute. I can also say that it's 1 and 25 hundredths laps per 1 minute, or that it's 5 laps to 4 minutes. Okay, I'm also going to write this unit rate as 5/4 over 1 because that's what it looked like back here as well. So these two pieces here, they're the same thing. You have to remember that decimals and fractions represent the same numbers but in different ways. Okay, so it is okay to have this fraction. I know it looks funky, but it's okay to have this fraction inside of our rate. So now we're going to take the rate that they give us and we're going to turn it into a unit rate and into a ratio. So as a rate, it's 6 feet per second. So I know that that's the value, so I know that as the unit rate, it can be 6 over 1, or it can be 6, because 6 over 1 and 6 are the same thing. And as a ratio, it turns into 6 feet to every 1 second because there's no 1 there. This is singular, so it implies that there's a 1 there. All right, so now we're going to use that to help us solve these problems. So we have Dave who can clean pools at a constant rate. So because it's constant, that means that no matter how long he's doing this for, he will continue to go at the same speed. And he can clean 3/5 pools in an hour. So in 1 hour, he can clean 3/5 of a pool. So I want to know what is the ratio of the number of pools to the number of hours. So I'm going to box in my important numbers. 3/5 is important. The rate unit is important. And the fact that I want pools to hours and I want a ratio is all important. So now I'm going to type out my sentence for my answer. So the ratio of pools to, we'll put pools cleaned to hours is, and we leave ourselves a little blank spot so we can type in our answer. Since I know that the rate is also the value of the ratio, I know that I can just take it and put my top number first and my denominator second, so my numerator first, denominator second, and that would be my ratio. Since pools is listed first, it goes with the numerator, and since hours is listed second, it goes with the denominator. So this tells me that it's 3 pools to every 5 hours. So my ratio is 3 to 5. Since my ratio is set up the same way as my rate unit, I can just take that ratio and turn it into, or that rate and turn it into the ratio. So now I'm going to use that ratio to help me answer some questions. I want to know how many pools can Dave clean in 10 hours. So it's important to note that I want to know how many pools. So my answer should be in the unit of pools. In 10 is important, hours. Right, so we can use a double number line here to help us answer this question. Now, we can work our way to just using multiplication to solve, which is absolutely fine. That's what we want to get to. Double number lines, ratio tables, tape diagrams, all these options that we've given you are all forms of justifying your answer or proving your answer. Okay, they help you show the relationship between the numbers, and they help you prove that the work you're doing and the answer that you got is correct. They help you kind of check yourself with your work. So we have pools and hours. So on pools, when I get to 3 on my number line, I know that I should get to 5 on my hours because it takes Dave 5 hours to clean 3 pools. So now I want to know 10 hours. So when I get to 10 down here, I want to know what that connects with pools. Well, it's kind of nice because typically what I do is I look and say, okay, if I double my time, which gets me to 10, which is what I'm looking for, I double the number of pools. So I'm already done. I know that since the relationship is 3 pools to 5 hours, that if I double the time to 10 hours, it would double the number of pools to 6 hours. And we forgot to write our sentence out originally, so we'll do that next time, but we'll write our sentence here. In 10 hours, Dave can clean 6 pools. I could have also said Dave can clean 6 pools in 10 hours. Both of them are saying the same thing. So if you wrote your sentence a little differently, as long as you have in there that it's 6 pools and 10 hours, you're doing okay. You've got the right answer. All right, so let's keep going here. And I'm just re-highlighting because I'm on a new page. You're still on the same page, so don't worry about re-highlighting in the original problem. But we do need to highlight in our new problem. So we have how long does it take? So since I know it's how long does it take, I know that my answer should be in a unit of time. And in this case, it should be in hours because that's the unit that we're using in our problem. And I want to know how long it takes Dave to clean 15 pools. I'm going to highlight pools because it goes with the 15, which we are going to use. So again, I'm going to use that double number line just to prove my answer. So give you a minute here to write yours down, get some practice with these. Okay, and these double number lines are helping us show that relationship between the pools and the hours. So I know that the relationship is that for every 3 pools, it takes Dave 5 hours. Well, I'm trying to get to 15 pools, so up here is where I'm trying to get to 15. This is important because sometimes, which we'll see here, our numbers on top and on bottom, we can get to 15 going by 5s. So it can be confusing, and let's see how that works. So 6 pools would take him 10 hours. 9 pools would take him 15 hours. Well, look at this. We get to 15 down here. Well, if we're not paying attention and seeing that we're working with 15 pools, and we stop at 15 hours, our answer is going to be incorrect. Because what you would have found is how many pools he can clean in 15 hours, not how many hours it takes him to clean 15 pools. So let's see how that's a little different. So let's keep going here. So if he cleans 4 times the amount of pools, it should take him 4 times as long. If he cleans 5 times the amount of pools, oh, look at that, we're at 15 pools. It should take him 5 times as long. So that 15 connects with the 25 because of that 3 to 5 relationship. So I know that it takes him 25 hours to clean those 15 pools. All right, so our sentence would have looked something like this. To clean 15 pools, it will take Dave blank hours. Okay, so now how that helps us is before, if we would have stopped here at this 15, we would have put in 15. Oh, see, and I did it backwards. Oh, no, I didn't do it backwards. Looking at it backwards. We would have put down here that it was 15 hours to clean 15 pools. So we would have said that 15 here connects to 15 up here. Is that the case? Since it's not, we would have caught that our answer was incorrect and we could have kept going. So I know that it's 15 pools, so 15 is with the pools, and that it's 25 hours. All right, so let's try example 4. So now here's the point where I am going to continue to walk you through these problems and how to solve them. This is where I would start to say, if you feel comfortable, start to pause, do it without me, and just come back and check your answer. And then you can do the same for example 5, and then example 6 is where I let you go on your own and try it completely by yourself. So if you feel comfortable and you think you're ready to try this on your own, absolutely go ahead and pause, try it on your own, and come back and check your work. If not, stick with me again and start to kind of work your way towards doing it by yourself. Remember, highlight that important information so Emmeline can type at a constant rate of 1/4 pages per minute. So that means if you look at a Word document, she can type 1/4 of that in 1 minute. So the 1/4 is important. The rate unit of pages per minute is important. And now I'm looking at the actual problem. What is the ratio of the number of pages to the number of minutes? So it's important that I want a ratio of pages to minutes. And my number that I'm working with is up here. Since my rate is 1/4, I'm going to use that to get my answer. So now I'm going to write my sentence for my answer. The ratio of the number of pages typed to minutes is... Alright, so now I have it set up. I know that I'm looking for a ratio of pages to minutes. So since my rate is set up as pages per minute, I know that I can just change it to a ratio, listing my numerator first and my denominator second. So that means that 1 page to every 4 minutes. So my ratio is 1 to 4. So that tells me that for every 1 page, it's going to take her 4 minutes. Okay, so again, this is working with that value again and how we multiply and go back and forth. So remember when we used the table? Well, we're going to use a table again for Emmeline, and we'll kind of show you how this value is working again with the equation like it had before. All right, so now I have Emmeline who has to type a 5-page article, but only has 18 minutes until her deadline. And we want to know, does Emmeline have enough time to type the article? Why or why not? She only has 18 minutes. So important numbers here would include the 5, and that it's 5 pages, and the 18, and that it's 18 minutes. So now what we're going to do is, it's easier to connect. So because we're working with 5 pages, and in our ratio, our pages has a quantity of 1, it's easier to go from the 1 to 5 instead of going from the 4 to 18. So we're going to use that to help us out. But now we can also use a ratio table, and that's going to help us look at how we use that value. So we know that the value of the ratio is what we can multiply by to go from one number to the other. You know what? I'm going to set this up the other way so I have a little bit more space when I'm working. So let's make the table this way. All right. And if you can make it the other way, that's absolutely fine. Tables are no different if they're vertical or horizontal, so no worries there. I just ran out of space. So I'm going to go with my ratio here. So I'm going to put the number of pages on top and the number of minutes on bottom, and I know that 1 page takes her 4 minutes. So if I look at that value, so my value of 1/4 is the ratio of pages to minutes. So that helps me know that if I take my number of minutes times 1/4, it'll give me my number of pages. Okay, so notice that 1/4 is here, pages per minute, and I can also use it and pull it out and put it into an equation. So if I take my minutes and multiply it by 1/4, I should get my pages. So I know that the reverse is true if I take the other value. So if I flip it and turn it into 4/1, now I can take my pages and multiply them by 4 to get my minutes. So if I have 2 pages, I multiply that by 4, it'll take 8 minutes. If Emmeline has 3 pages, it'll take her 12 minutes. 4 pages times 4 will take her 16, and 5 pages will take her 20. Okay. So notice this 1/4, we didn't multiply by 1/4 here because we went from pages to minutes, but I can double check by taking 20 and multiplying it by 1/4 and making sure that it equals 5. So I get 20/4, which 20 divided by 4 gives me 5. So I know my answers are correct. So I'm going to write my sentence. I know we went a little bit further here. I'm going to write my sentence, and I have to make my font a little bit smaller so we can fit it in. So either Emmeline, so Emmeline does or does not have enough time to type her article because. So that should have been our sentence, or should be our sentence right off the bat, because we're saying, does she have enough time? Yes or no. And why? Because they want us to explain why. So that's why the because is in there. So does she have enough time? Well, she has 18 minutes to get it done, and she has 5 pages to do. So looking at that 5 pages, we know it'll take her 20 minutes. So Emmeline does not have enough time to type her article because, and I'm going to go back to typing here so that way it doesn't take us a long time to get it written down. So why doesn't she have enough time? Well, because she only has 18 minutes to type it, and it will take her 20 minutes to finish it at her rate. I will say at her rate of typing. Okay, so I said why or why not, and then I explained why. And I explained why because how long it takes her. So why? Because she takes 20 minutes and she only has 18 minutes. So I didn't say no, she doesn't have enough time because it takes her 20 minutes. I actually included the fact that it takes her 20 minutes and that she only has the 18 minutes. That's a complete answer for us. All right, and again, I'm highlighting again on the top part because I'm on a new page. You are not. Okay, and I know that my ratio was 1 to 4, and I'm just going to write that up here. You have it listed in part A. So Emmeline has to type a 7-page article, and we want to know how much time that will take her. So it's important that it's 7 pages. We are going to use that, but it's important that the 7 goes with pages. How much time? It tells us that our unit should be in time. And here we know our time is minutes, so we know our answer should be in minutes. And again, I'm going to use my table to help me find my answer. All right, so give everybody a minute here. See how many boxes I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I need one more. And actually, no, I don't. I can just, well, we'll be careful here and we'll make sure to put everything in that belongs in there. So we'll make one more box. Okay, so on top, I have pages and minutes. 1 page, 4 minutes. And from before, I know that if I take my pages times 4, it gives me my minutes. Or if I take my minutes times 1/4, it gives me my pages. So if I do twice as many pages, it should take me twice as long. So times 3, times 3, times 4, times 4, times 5, times 5, times 6, times 6, times 7, times 7. And I can stop here because I'm at 7 pages, which is what I had here, and that will give me my amount of time. So let's type our answer. Or actually, you're going to write yours. I don't think you're typing your notes. So it will take Emmeline blank minutes to type 7 pages. Okay, so I know that in my table I'm looking for 7 pages and what it connects to, and in this case that would be 28 minutes. Alright, so for example 5, what I would like you to do is highlight your important information, underline important words, box important numbers, and write your sentence. When you come back, we'll check to make sure that you're doing all that correctly. Then you'll pause again and you will solve the problem. Come back and check your answer, make sure you're doing it correctly. And we're going to do that for each of them. The only difference is on B, I'm going to show you how to just use multiplication. So I will talk you through how to do it a little bit more. And then for C, you're going to be doing it on your own but checking it. And then for example 6, you're going to be doing that completely on your own. All right, so go ahead and pause and highlight, underline, box, and sentence. And when you come back, we can check your work. All right, so you should have highlighted that it was a constant speed of 5/3 meters per second, and that 5/3 is important, and meters per second is important. In A, it's what is the ratio, and we want meters to seconds. The fact that we want a ratio is important. Meters to seconds is important. And then my sentence should have been the ratio of the number of meters to seconds is, and I would have left a blank space so I can just type in write in my answer. And then in this case, your answer should have been 5 to 3. So 5 meters to every 3 seconds. All right, so go ahead and pause, highlight, box, underline, and write your sentence. And then when you come back, we'll check that out. All right, so he must complete the 100-meter race in 55 seconds. Will Javier be able to qualify for the race? Why or why not? We are going to use this 100 and we are going to use this 55. It's important that it's 100 meters and that it's 55 seconds. The why or why not is important, and will he be able to? Okay, that's all important. And then for our sentence, put this over here. So Javier will or will not be able to qualify for the 100-meter race because, and we leave it at that, so that way now we can do our work. So what I'd like you to do is follow along with me. We're going to just use the multiplication. And then for C, you're going to do it on your own. So here, I know that my ratio is 5 to 3. Since I want to know how long it's going to take him to swim 100 meters, and it has to take him 55 seconds, it's easier to go from 5 to 100, because it's meters to meters, than it is to go from 3 to 55. 5 plus 5 is 10, which is not a multiple of 3, so this isn't going to work out evenly. So we're going to use the 100 meters. So I know that to go from 5 to 100, I have to take my distance times 20. So if I'm going 20 times as far, it should take 20 times as long. So we take Javier's distance times 20 and his time times 20, which is 60. So the relationship here is that it takes Javier 60 seconds to swim 100 meters. So because of this, Javier will not be able to qualify for the 100-meter race because at his speed, it will take him 60 seconds to complete the race, and and to qualify, he has to complete it in 55 seconds. Again, we not only wrote down that he will or will not and how long it will take him, but why his time does not allow him to qualify compared to the time that he needs to qualify. So it takes him 60 seconds and he only has 55, so that's why it doesn't work. All right, for this last one, do your highlighting, come back, check, and then you're going to do your work and come back and check. So highlight, underline, box, and sentence, and then come back to make sure you've got that part correct. All right, and I'm just re-highlighting here for myself. All right, so in the problem, we have that he's trying to qualify now for the 200-meter event. And actually, I'm just catching that we're missing some letters in here. Event and same. All right, so now he's trying to qualify for the 200-meter event, and he has 130 seconds to qualify. Will he be able to qualify, and why or why not? Important numbers, I am going to use the 130 and the 200. It's 200 meters and 130 seconds. Why or why not? And will he be able to? So I know my sentence should include those pieces. So Javier will or will not, that's where it's blank because I'm not sure yet, be able to qualify for the 200-meter event because. So now I can stop there. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to stop, pause, find your answer, and when you come back, you can check your work. All right, so you should have found that to do the 200-meter race, it will take Javier 120 seconds. So he will be able to qualify for the 200-meter event because at his speed, he completes it in 120 seconds. And to qualify, he only has to finish in 130 seconds. Okay, so there you go. So you've explained how long it will take him and how long he has to qualify, and the fact that his time that he can complete it in is less than what he needs to qualify. We know that he'll qualify. All right, so for example 6, you're working with the corner store that sells apples at a rate of $1 in $2,500 per apple. So what you're going to do is you're going to answer A, B, and C. Again, you need to have your highlighting, your underlining, boxing your important numbers, and your sentences. As always, if you have questions, jot them down. Make sure that you are showing your work, writing down those questions, and that you have your answers ready so that way we can go over all of those things in class the next day.